So, welcome back guys. Today we're gonna start a series where I will discuss Yoshimitsu stances in general. I talked a lot about Dragonfly stance because I think it's the most useful one. But today I'm gonna talk about the weakest stance in my opinion, which is Indian stance. And what I think should be improved to make the stance more viable, and what at this point you can do with the stance, which is very limited actually. I want to thank everyone who supports me on Patreon, and I will just jump right into the video. I will just, for showcasing purposes, showcase what he can do out of the Indian stance and what I like to change about it. So the first one is his Unblockable with the Indian stance 1. As you can see, it is super slow with 55 frames to impact and has no tracking. This move literally has no purpose whatsoever. It's super shitty. It has no range. So let's say I'm here and you do it from like neutral. It can be backdashed, it can be sidestepped, it can be, I think it can be even interrupted. Yeah, there is no usage for this move. So where do I even start? First and foremost, how can it be that someone like Deviljin has an Unblockable from neutral that wall splats that is, I think, 32 frames, correct me if I'm wrong, and this one, which is 0 on hit, does no damage, is 55 frames and locked into a stance where I have no mobility. This makes no sense whatsoever. So first, you have to make it quicker. It has to be 35 to 40, at least. I would make it 35 actually, because the range is shitty, and if you give it 50, then they can even backdash it. You could argue that it needs some tracking, but okay, just keep the tracking aside, just make it faster. 35 frames is okay, it doesn't do a lot. And if you make it 40 frames, give it a normal hit knockdown, where at the wall, give it the knockdown where I can at the wall get a free CD1. Because then actually Indian stance would be usable at the wall, and at 35 to 40 frames good player will still sidestep it, but there would be some application like this where you end your combo like this, wait for them to tech roll and knock them down with this into a free CD1. Which make the Unblockable usable at the wall, but still very useless in the open. You could discuss to make it even free in the open, because the stance itself has no plus transitions, like no real plus transitions. The only good one is a no-sword stance, this one. And if you want, you can make this still blockable like this one. But just if you give it the knockdown that it has here, it would be enough. Still make it unblockable and just a little bit quicker. Even quicker than this one, because 48 frames is just too fucking slow. Make it, I think, like 40. 35 to 40. Then the unblockable would have something, and please, when it comes out faster, make it uninterruptible by something like this. If they jab, okay, that's fine, but it needs to have some usage. And I think with this at the wall, it would be usable. I think you could also just make it faster and +3 on hit and on counter and give the knockdown, but I really would like a normal hit knockdown because it doesn't do a lot of damage, and even if with the CD1 together it would do like 30-ish, which is not a lot for that kind of a risk. Remember, characters like Deviljin can do it from the neutral and get around 48 to 52, I think. I know Yoshimitsu, comparing Yoshimitsu with Deviljin is pretty pretty easy for my side, because of course everything will look shitty. The next one is the 2 extension, and with the 2 extension I'm actually quite happy. It shifts into the teleport, which is the reason why I almost every time use the 2 extension, and it just has the normal spin, which is here +2, which I really don't get, but who cares. You could do 2 things. First and foremost, make this +5, please. I don't know why this is +6 and this is +2. I really don't get it. Make it +5 to +6. And maybe make it homing, but that would be a lot. I know this is kind of dumb, but yeah, just make it +6. Because for me, it's mostly used to teleport if I think they're gonna interrupt me. But if I score a normal hit, then just give me my +6 like I usually do from this. There's no point that this just should be +2. Now we come to the next one, and I think this is the most important one. And it is full crouch down 4/4 from Indian stance. Has the same properties counter hit launch. And what they thought is if they try to interrupt you, you can counter hit with this and score a combo. Which will never happen. Because if you transition into this, most people just backdash because you can do nothing. There's straight up nothing in the stance that you can do if someone is just backdashing. And there is no transition that makes this viable. So if someone gets hit by this, he's a fucking idiot. For real. He's a fucking idiot. So what this should do is, I would actually remove the tracking on this. I will tell you why. I would remove the tracking on this, and I would make it the same knockdown as for the second hit from Fort 3-3. Maybe leave them closer so I can dash up and do this. Because I don't like it to get up crouching like this, for instance. Or make me be able to do something like this. So recover crouch for recover standing for me would be better. So some things are easier to set up. And I can, for instance, go for this if they tech roll or get up wrong. I can go for a CD1. Or for instance, if they lay on the ground, up for 2 is at the perfect range. Something like this. I would really like that. And please make it a little bit faster. Just a little bit. Make it 42 frames. Would hurt no one. Because this is so slow. I know it's a mix-up. And I know it needs a lot of frames. But there are so many moves that just float this. And I will tell you why I would remove the homing property and make it the knockdown. Because I think now, when you're in Indian stance, you have down 1+2 to flare and 1+2 to flare. I think they should add a move, which is Indian 1+2, which should be a mid that tracks. Not very rewarding on hit. Let's say it's like +3, +4-ish, but safe on block. Could be something like this, for instance. With decent tracking and maybe a knockdown, maybe not, maybe just plus frames on, maybe a knockdown on counter hit and normal plus frames on normal hit. So you have a kind of safe-ish way to get out. I know you have this one, and I actually use this the most out of the stance because it's a knockdown. And I know one tech about this move that I will share in another video, which makes this move actually very decent. But the problem is, most people don't know this, but the move itself is actually horrible on block, if I remember correctly. You can, of course, shift into the rule kick, which is only -13, but this is -31 on block. I know there's mental frames and you're airborne, so your opponent really has to know his Punisher, but if he does, holy moly, are you eating damage. And of course, there is some tracking in this move, but if they're already sidewalking when you enter the stance, it only tracks to one side if I'm correct. No, it tracks to both sides actually. I'm a scrub, man. Still, I would give him I really like the idea of this added to meditation stance. With decent range, so it covers 1 to 2 backdashes. Just doesn't do a lot on normal hits, but gives me a good way out of it, better than this one. And yeah, like a normal hit knockdown for some Oki like this. Is not a big deal for a stance that is so hard to enter in a frame advantage. And yeah, that should be Indian 1+2 in my opinion, and then Indian down 1+2 should be entering flare stance. Now we come to one of the actually best moves wait, I totally forgot where I was. Sorry. The thing that I want to show you is the teleport needs to recover faster. I need to be able to do something faster because there is a tech. I will not show how to do it because I don't want to spread it so people know. But most people know this, that there is a tech where you can actually float Yoshimitsu if he successfully teleports every fucking time. And that is very, very annoying because this is so situational that I really, really shouldn't get punished for doing this. Yeah, in my opinion at least, this shouldn't be a thing. It should be just recover quicker so I know if he does a slow mid, for instance, it is already very good, right? And afterwards, when you get the successful launch, you can go for your tech trap, right? For the spike into another one. So that's all fine and dandy. But for this to work, the opponent has to do a very, very slow mid. And I really don't like that you can kind of option select this if I'm doing it and you're not committed to a button. Because I have nothing in this stance to really pressure you to press a button. There is straight up nothing. He just can let you spin. And if you're that negative entering it, he can always float you. And if not, if you're entering this in a good situation, then he just does nothing. Next thing is, I really think if you give this a knockdown low, which is like -14, please don't make it stagger because the risk reward isn't there. Then it would be a really like annoying situation, right? So people would start to consider ducking if it has enough range. It doesn't need to have this kind of range, but like 2.7-ish, right? So I actually have something because you have to think, like people tell me when I talk about it, that Dragonfly is actually kind of OP at the wall. And Dragonfly, you cannot block. That's why the options are so good. That's why the options in Flamingo for Orang are so good. That's why his jabs are plus on block. And in this stance, I have no mobility except I'm doing this. So I need tools that cover backdashing. And it cannot be that the only tool is a mid. Because then 1-2 backdashes and just hold back. So I need either more range on the Unblockable or I need more range on my 4. One of those two. And if I get the opponent to duck, I would really like to get the root kick like I do from Flare out of this. Because it would cover two options. First, people pressing buttons. People who would defend correctly by backdashing and maybe either stepping or guessing, beating the options like you should wouldn't be affected by the root kick. But in ranked, when people start to always mesh you out of it, you actually had an option to here at -7 root kick, and it would be super fun actually. Would be good at high level, but would make the stance more enjoyable overall and would be like more fun. For me at least. That's the biggest things about the stance. I wanted to incorporate this because I really like to sometimes use it at the wall. For instance, if you do something like this, you can actually do teleport behind them if they get up wrong and grab them back into the wall with you being back turned. And I really like that. I really like for me, Indian stance is one of the most interesting stances. Looks the coolest, but has no utility whatsoever. Like if you do this and they do a back turn down 4, you're gonna get floated or hit, and then you're at the wall. What is that? That is shitty. So it needs improvements. And the last thing I want to do with this stance is make a transition with 3+4. Make the sit maybe down back 3+4, and make a transition into meditation. Like make him spin maybe into meditation immediately, or make him just get up to meditation in a very quick manner. So I can do this from around here, spin to meditation, and then go back doing this kind of stuff. Like then I can start to keep out with meditation stance. That would make the stance more viable even from here. And then when I have a knockdown low with range 2.7, I actually can throw this out if he comes in, or I can throw out the 3 and actually make this a very, very viable keep-out stance. Those last two things are more of a bonus, right? You don't have to do that. If you're really, really sick, you should really, in my opinion, I know this sounds super stupid, but if you add the upward 1+2 jump in no sword stance, like meditation upward 1+2, into meditation stance again, like he sits in meditation, jumps, and goes into meditation again, so the sweep isn't the option, like this sweep, this would be sick as well. It wouldn't really influence the strength of the stance that much outside of gimmicking someone out. But that's really Yoshi's thing. Obnoxious moves that you have to use in very creative ways. And the community of Yoshimitsu players are actually not the kind of people, most of them, that applying or requesting overpowered stuff. I know a lot of decent Yoshimitsu players who think this move tracks too much and covers too many options. They don't like that. They want their character to be 200 IQ brain. So adding more creative stuff that maybe on paper isn't as good, but really creates the versatility of stances that are now not that useful, would make, I think, more people happy. So please, this time, I know I'm asking for interactions and stuff, but this time, if you have suggestions how we could make Indian stance better, leave the feedback in the comments. Tell me what you think. I know some of the ideas are very generic, like a knockdown low is what everyone is asking for in her stance game. But Yoshimitsu suffers for not being able to block in this stance and should be rewarded, in my opinion at least. And teleporting is the coolest mechanic he actually has, in my opinion, and this should be better. Just should be better, so I can see I'm a musician doing it more often to clueless opponents. Leave your feedback and I hope you enjoyed it. See you later, but Majin Clan. Sorry, I made this up on the fly.